This lecture is the continuation of the lecture on Joseph, slavery, and Pharaoh's dream. This was found in Genesis. You can find it in Genesis 40 and 41 chapter. Okay. Now we talked about this earlier, and I want to bring up some little preview of what we was talking about earlier. In the King's Dream show about America. Most people look at the story of Joseph and they say, well, how could the story of Joseph be about America? What we are dealing with the Hebrew typology. When King James wrote the Bible, he had his strives to give us an English version of the Bible. What they wrote down, the things that was dealing with his continent, his nation, his new nation, America. This King James version was sent to America for the pilgrim, for the individuals in America. And most people are not aware of that. They think that the Bible was something that King James had his men to produce that was to all the subject of England and et cetera, et cetera. That was not true. What you're going to find out that in the King James Version, you're going to find stories of America from Genesis to Revelation. When you hear of the story about Pharaoh and the king's dream, these stories are not taken face value. They are esoteric writing. They're myths and allegories. And when you hear these stories, you have to be able to look inside the story and find the truthism that's inside the story. Joseph, the story of Joseph was all about the transatlantic slave trade and the life of the royal family, the bloodline of what they call Abraham, of that royal bloodline that was going to pass through that transatlantic slave trade in the nation of America. Pharaoh is looked at as the system of the governmental system of America, the ruling body of America. And we have to see that. The slavery part that Joseph went through, or that bloodline go through, is going to be the transatlantic slave trade. When they came over they were brought over from the time of the Shanghai Empire, Shanghai and the Mali Empire, that was diminished in 1591. Less than 20-something years later, those people from that empire that was of Jewish descent was brought over to America. So when you see a movie like The Birth of a Nation, and you see the woman, I had the woman in this movie, and she jumped out the wagon like a wild woman stuff, that's propaganda. These people was not uncivilized people. They was individuals that had the Hebrew descent. Some of them had Muslim Hebrew descent. And you're going to see that these people were scholars. Some of them was lawyers. Some of them was professors. Some of them were professional people, craftsmen, etc. But when they put on these clothing, that the European put them on, these slave clothing, and put them on the option, you think, for example, that, hey, man, these young people, you see the movies, these people are wild people. It's good that they brought them kind of people over and civilized them. They didn't civilize nobody. You had the barbarians are the one catching the civilized people, putting them into slavery. And this is what happened in this, and this is what the story of Joseph is portraying. It is showing you the events that's going to happen in America that deal with slavery. Joseph was a slave, and we must never forget that. But he was no ordinary slave, and like I said, the bloodline, the Hebrew bloodline that was in the transatlantic slave trade is no ordinary slave, okay? He's a chosen vessel. Now, and you got many whites as part of the secret order. They know that. You know, they're not going to reveal that. Everybody's not going to reveal that to the mass of the people or to the black race as a whole. But through time, if you know anything about orders and you know how things are understood, you'll know that that exists. Now, the reason I'm talking about the king's dream is because in the king's dream, Joseph's going to see the end of a time. It's what they call the end of the beginning of a paradigm shift. You're going to be in a paradigm shift. The end of the dark age into the age of from the dark age to the bronze age. And this is what you're going to see. This is the ending of time. You're going to see this ending of time in Joseph, the king's dream. You're going to see the ending of time in the writing of Abraham that deal with the 400 years. And then the nation will be judged, talking about America. You're going to hear the ending of time. They deal in the word Amorites And you're going to see that that word in Amorites carry the word America inside of it. You're not going to see the word America in the Bible. You're not going to see that. If you're going to look for the word America, if you're going to let ignorance overshadow your mind and not try to see how the codes was written in the days before, or the literal scholars wrote in the codes in the Bible, if you're not going to try to wrestle your mind or try to put your mind forth to see this stuff, then you're going to stay in ignorance. This is a coded writing. And we got to understand the Bible is a coded writing. Before the Lutheran, the Bible was written in Latin and it's written in Greek. And what you had was that the priest taught it. Why? Because the priest was initiates. The priest was taught how to understand what the Bible really means. But the peoples, the peasants and etc., they was not taught to understand the Bible. So what's happening today? In America, they got you literally studying the Bible, literally reading the Bible, looking for truth. You can't find truth by literally reading the Bible. You got to understand how to get into the Bible. And Hebrew typology is a genre that haven't been practiced basically in the West, especially for over almost 2,000 years. And this is the way that you could be able to see and understand God. What is Hebrew typology? I must talk about this stuff before I go into this dream. Hebrew typology is something that God had divinely passed into our society for the life of one prophet to be written down and mirror the life of another prophet in the future. So these events here is mirroring the life of a prophet at our time, from the time of back then to now. You're going to see it in the prophecy also of Assyrian America, the lecture I did on it. You're going to see how Syria fits the, Syria and America fit. It's a parallel with each other, even their history. Now, but I don't want to go too far into that, but Hebrew typology is the way that you could look and see into the Word of God and see how God revealed these revelations. Now, if I say that this dream is about the cow, the corn, about good year, bad year, agrees for bad year, and why would I say good year, bad year, agrees for bad year? Because in the dream, the king seen a good kin, which is a cow, then he seen a bad kin, and then he seen the bad at the good, which is grievously bad. You're going to have the same with the corn. You're going to have the good corn, the bad corn, and then you're going to see the bad destroy the good. So he grievously bad. And Daniel said that these were 7 years, for each one of these, you had 7 years, which is 21 years. 21 years, you're going to have 7 a good, 7 a bad. But in the story, you got to pick this up. You got to study the dream. Daniel don't tell you grievously bad in the literal writing. You have to read it, study it, and then you're going to see the grievously bad. How do the grievously bad come about? Okay, you're dealing with events. You got a good event of 7 years. You got a bad event of 7 years. And you got another event with the good, the bad at the good. That's another 7 years. That's how you get to 21 years. And Daniel also said that these dreams are one. That means they're going to rotate. You get into the study of the dream, break each one of the dreams down, you'll see that it's a rotation. You got 3 years of 3 years of the corn, 3 years of the cow, 3 years of the corn. Meaning the cow represents economic, and you got 3 years of the corn represent natural disasters. Okay, dealing with nature. Now, if I say this, and I say that these years started the year 2000 to 2021, at the time before the paradigm shift, then they must fit the history of America. And I say that this story is about America. It must fit American history. That's the important thing. It must fit American history. Why is this so important? Why am I talking about this? Because we are approaching the time when we're going to have a war. We're going to have a war that's going to be what we call World War III. In the King's Dream, it talks about the east wind. That's a destructive force that God has permitted to use in order to wipe people from an area because of the way that they be acting. They're disobedient. Now, we're going to deal with this. We're going to go into the first one. The first one you got in America, you had a good year. Now this first one is dealing with war and economics. Now we'll look at it very carefully. Now economics dealing with a nation, America, we must see that America had a strong economic at the year 2000, okay? Understand that cow represent wealth. The corn represent nature, okay? Now, when you begin to see this, corn has something to do with wealth as well, but it's more of the natural thing. Corn don't have blood, okay? Now, this is nature. Now, what we're going to see the year 2000, okay? In the year 2000, Clinton was in power. And Clinton let's deal with Clinton, 2000 Clinton, good year, was a good year. What happened in 2000? Clinton had a surplus of $223.2 billion surplus. That means the economy was good. When the economy have a surplus, that means the economy is good. Okay? The next year was the year Bush was in power, 2001, Bush, a bad year. What happened in 2001? In 2001, 9/11. That's a bad year, 9/11, okay? Now, what's going to follow that? The next one must be a grievously bad year in America. If it's not a grievously bad year, it do not fit America. Let's deal with it. In 2002, in Bush, you got grievously bad year. Grievously bad year, what happened? A war. War in Iraq. We had a war in Iraq. Now, at that time, some people were talking about the weapon inspector, etc. I said, I don't care what the weapon inspector say. I said, Bush going to war with Iraq. And I was sure of that. And just like I was sure that, it happened. Now we're going to deal with the next one, deal with the corn. The corn is natural disasters, okay? In 2003, Bush was still in power. He was the president of the United States. He had a good year. Now, what we're going to see in each one of these, as these go along, our economy is going to get weaker and weaker and weaker. You're going to see that because it's dealing with economics and it's dealing with natural disasters along with war. Okay. Now, under the corn, 2003 was a good year. Had no serious problem. Okay. 2003 was a good year. 2004 was a bad year. What happened in 2004? Now, 2003 was a good year. 2004, we had hurricanes. What we had hurricanes, several hurricanes hit the United States and came down the coast of Florida, etc. It never made it to Jacksonville area so much, a little brief, but most of that happened at that time. What happened in 2005? Bush, grievously bad year. And it wasn't just Bush here. Any president would have been there. It would have been the same thing, but Bush happened to be the president at that time. In 2005, you had Katrina. Hurricane Katrina came on the scene. Now, you see how these years fit in the order of what you're saying? This dream is about, and King James made sure that was written in the book because the slave trade and the Pharaoh's dream is about America. I said in the earlier video how the Pharaoh get to be the ruling body of America. It happened ever since you go all the way back to Alexander the Great, his brother, his half-brother, Pharoah, who became the first Greek pharaoh. And so that Greek power, that pharaoh power and that knowledge have been handed down through the different nations all the way into America. That's why you got the Freemasons studying about the pyramid, the Freemasons studying the knowledge of thought, or the knowledge of Hermes, the Hermes philosophy. The Hermes philosophy is a philosophy that built the Egyptian empire. And we must understand that. So when you begin to see the Rosicrucians, the Masons, which is part of the Shriners, the Bone Skull, all this philosophy goes back to Egypt. And we must understand that. Now, we're going to deal with the next one, going back to the cow again. 2006, Bush was in power. 2006 was a good year. What was happening in 2006? A good year, but we got to see. Every year as it goes down, you got a problem with the economy. In 2006, you had 1.7% growth. You had a very low growth. Okay, but it wasn't bad as the other years. What happened in 2007 was a bad year. 2007, financial crisis. And if you study, you'll see that 2007, you had some financial problems in 2007 in America. Okay, we'll deal with 2008, grievously bad year. Now, you see every time the grievously bad year comes, they come. Grievously bad year, the stock market crashed. September 29, 2008, you got 777.68 drop. 777.68 drop in the stock market. Just like that. The dream that Joseph had, the dream that the Pharaoh had was for America. This is one reason why the King James Version recorded it in there, for us to understand. This thing was fit for us to understand at this particular time of human history. Now, we're going to deal with the corn again. Natural disaster. 2009, a bomb, a good year. What happened in 2009? In 2009, it was a good year. Okay? Always remember the economy going down, 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 but it was a good year. Okay? 2010, a bomb, bad year. What happened that affect American people? It don't always have to be in America to affect American people, but it have to have a mirror on America. In 2010, you had the Haitian earthquake. That was a very bad thing. It had over close to 250,000 people died. You had millions of people homeless at that time. America was strapping stuff, getting together, trying to do all it can to help its people, because you have a large Haitian community in places like Miami, New York, and other locations in the United States. So we had a big problem in Haiti. Now, dealing with that, and we had our own problems at home. Now, let's go beyond that. We're dealing with the economy. Let's go with 2012. Now, we done went from 2011, and what we said in 2011, let's deal with this. I don't want to get it off. Stock market crash. We had the 2010. We stopped at 2010. Let's deal with 2010. 2010 was the time of natural disasters. We were dealing with the Haitian thing in Haiti. Now, in 2011, let's deal with 2011 because I skipped one. It's dealing with corn again, natural disaster. 2011, a bomb, a grievously bad year. Why was 2011 a grievously bad year in the United States? 2011 was a grievously bad year because you had 89 disasters occurred in 2011. And you had Debbie also occurred in 2011. But you had 89 disasters occurred in 2011. That's what made 2011 a grievously bad year. Now, we're going to get in 2012. We're going back to the cow again, what they call the kin. 2012, a bomb, a good year. We're going to look at 2012 over here. In 2012, we had slow economy, slow, steady growth in the United States. Now, it was a good year, but it was slow and steady in the United States. Now, we did 2012. Let's go to 2013, and we're dealing with cow economy war. 2013, Obama, bad year. Now, we're going over here. Deficit of $850 billion debt ceiling. This is when you hear them talk about the debt ceiling. We are in debt for $850 billion. Now, this is going to shift, as you see, from 2013 down to 2016, from billion to trillions. You're going to see how it goes. In 2014, what did we have? In 2014 was a grievously bad year. Let's get 2014. Let's get 2014 is a grievously bad year. Okay? Now, what do it say about 2014? You got a deepening decline. Okay? You got the debt ceiling again, happening again. The Great Recession, what they call the Great Recession, and reset. The Great Recession reset in 2014. You got $17.2 trillion in debt. You got $17.2 trillion in debt. being reset. 2015, we're going to deal with the natural disasters again. There we go right here, natural disasters. 2015, we had fair, not as bad. Okay, so this was a good year compared to the other two. 2016, you had tornadoes, floods, earthquake, landslide, hurricane. That's where we at right now. Now, we got one more year, which is going to be grievously bad. Now, I want to show you something also. In prophecy, it basically deals with 360 days. Okay? Now, if we go with 360 days, that means that when this last storm came, Matthews, and we go with 360 days, it from the first year, 2000 to year 2000 to now, that means around October 3rd, 2016 began the grievously bad year. Now, that means that it's October 3rd, that means Matthews came in the grievously bad year. Okay, when you do it properly. What we did, we just lined this up to try to give you the best understanding. But when you get into the depths of understanding prophecy, you're dealing with 360 days. That means Matthews came, boom, right at the time of the grievously bad year. When on October the 3rd, 2016, Matthews made a decision whether it was going to go toward Mexico or it was going to come toward the United States. And it made that decision on that grievously bad, the opening of the grievously bad day, year. So we must understand this. Now, why is this so important? These years have happened. Why is this important? This is important because this time here, these 4 years, 2017, 18, 19, and 20, are years that determine America's final fate. All of the prophecies, the story of Jonah leads to this time. The story of Abraham and after the 400 years lead to this time. The story of Abraham and the heifer, the she-goat, the ram, and the pigeon and dove lead to this time. The story of Revelation, the seventh seal, where silence in heaven for the space of half an hour to show you 21 years, a prophetic 21 years, lead to this time. This is the time that the Americans, this story is about America. These stories is for America because America affects the entire world. God has always launched his campaigns from the most powerful nation of the world. That is what this Bible is trying to tell you. And America is being judged. And we must see this so we could be able to overcome these obstacles going to take place. Study the story of Joseph. What did Joseph do? He laid up grain. Why? Because he knows that some trouble is finna hit Egypt. So what is God saying? The new Egypt, America today. He's telling you trouble is finna hit your nation. And it's going to be destruction not only in your nation but all around. Because what affect the most powerful nation in the world affect all other nations of the world. This is for us to understand. This is a revelation God has revealed and he wants you to see. It's very important. You're going to have one more year of natural disasters. It's going to be grievously bad. But then you're going to have a year that's going to deal with the economy. Now, why is this so important? If we down and we got a time where our economy is over, it's way beyond 17-point-something trillion in debt. Okay? They don't care. They don't care. Another debt ceiling, spending money. Right now, this time here going to bring on World War III because God has to do a quick work. This time going to bring on World War III. And where are we at right now? We at the end of 2016, and what we're hearing right now. We're hearing the Russian Putin and other individuals on the air trying to give American people a message. You better get your nation